The last gas station. A fuel light blinked red as the highway stretched endless before me. Midnight clung to the world, a black weight pressing down. Just as panic set in, I saw a glow on the horizon. A gas station. One pump. A lone building, humming faintly under buzzing floodlights. Relief loosened my chest, but something about the glow felt wrong. Too bright, too eager. The lot was empty. My tires crunched over gravel as I pulled beside the pump. The air smelled faintly metallic, sharper than gasoline should. A moth fluttered against the light, wings tearing on the hot bulb. I watched it fall, twitch once, then go still. Inside, the station felt frozen in time. Shelves lined with canned goods, faded soda bottles, dusty candy bars. The clerk stood motionless behind the counter, hands folded, head tilted slightly, like he'd been waiting all along. His smile was too wide, teeth too perfect. "Traveling late?" he asked. The words stretched, too precise, as though rehearsed. I nodded. My voice caught in my throat. "Just need gas." The clerk slid a key across the counter. "Restrooms out back. Keys for you." The tag read simply, 0. I hadn't asked, but I took it anyway. The metal was warm against my palm. The restroom door waited at the edge of the lot, half hidden by shadows. As I walked, I realized the gravel was silent under my boots, though I could still feel the crunch. The door creaked open. Inside was a narrow hall, longer than the outside suggested. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, stretching shadows into crawling shapes. The mirror above the sink reflected not me, but someone else similar, but not exact. His eyes were duller, face thinner, lips twitching as though whispering something I couldn't hear. I blinked, and the reflection smiled. My chest tightened as I reached for the faucet. The water ran black for a moment before clearing. Behind me, the door clicked shut. I spun. The hall was longer now, lined with other doors, each marked with strange symbols. Some were fresh, painted in red. The restroom was gone. My pulse pounded in my ears as whispers rose, too faint to understand, too close to ignore. I tried the key. It turned in one door, the numberless tag fitting like it belonged. Inside was not a room, but another stretch of hall, darker, narrower, lined with shelves of glass jars. Shapes moved inside the jars' tiny figures, mouths pressed against the glass, eyes wide with silent screams. They watched me pass, their tiny fists pounding soundlessly. I staggered back, trying not to drop the key. My hand shook violently. The jars rattled as if something inside wanted out. A childlike giggle echoed, high and sharp, bouncing between the shelves. A figure darted past at the edge of my vision, too small, too fast. The key slipped, clattering to the floor. As I bent to grab it, the light above me buzzed violently and went out. When it flickered back, the jars were empty. Every single one. The shelves rattled again, but now the sound came from the ceiling. Tiny feet scurrying, whispered laughter descending. I bolted for the door, fumbling with the key. The knob twisted on its own, and the hall folded in on itself, twisting like a funhouse mirror. My reflection in the metal surface of the knob smiled before I could. It whispered in my voice, "Stay, belong." The next door opened into the gas station again. The clerk was still smiling, hands folded, but now dozens of figures stood behind him. Pale, thin, small, their eyes glowing faintly. They tilted their heads in unison. "Tank's full," the clerk said. His voice wasn't his own. It was layered, dozens speaking through him. I turned toward the pump. Sure enough, the meter read full. My car door was open, keys already in the ignition, though I never left them there. My breath came shallow, ragged. I climbed inside, slammed the door, locked it. The figures pressed to the glass, their smiles wide, Hands too many, fingers too long. The clerk leaned down, face level with mine through the window. "The road remembers," he whispered. "We'll see you again." His reflection lingered in the glass, even as he straightened. I turned the key. The car started instantly. Gravel crunched loud now, real as I tore out of the lot, the floodlights shrinking in the rearview mirror. My hands shook on the wheel. The road stretched ahead, empty, silent. For a moment, I thought I was free. Then the fuel light blinked red again. And ahead, glowing in the distance, a familiar sign pulsed in the night. "Last gas station, open 24 hours. The archive of still voices." The library wasn't on any map. I found it when my GPS glitched, rerouting me onto a road I didn't remember turning onto. Trees pressed close, branches clawing at the sky. Then, through the mist, an old brick building appeared, its sign weathered to near illegibility. Just one word carved into stone: Archive. The doors were unlocked. Inside, the air was cold, heavy, and carried the smell of paper rotting in dampness. Rows upon rows of shelves stretched into the dark, each sagging under the weight of books without titles. I should have left, but exhaustion tugged me deeper. The silence was absolute until I realized it wasn't silence at all. It was breathing. Hundreds of faint, shallow breaths woven together, coming from the books themselves. I froze, ears straining. The spines quivered slightly, as if they expanded and contracted, inhaling dust, exhaling whispers too low to catch. My skin prickled. Something about this place wanted to be known. A figure appeared between the shelves, a librarian. Tall, thin, her face obscured by a veil of black lace. She didn't speak. Instead, she handed me a book. It was heavy, bound in something rougher than leather. My name was pressed faintly into the cover. My throat went dry. When I opened it, the pages were blank. Then, slowly, words bled through. Not written, pressed, as though 1,000 mouths had whispered them into the paper. The first line made my stomach drop. "You have already been here." I slammed the book shut. Dust puffed into the air, carrying a taste of iron. The librarian tilted her head. The veil shifted as though a smile twitched beneath. She raised one thin finger and pointed deeper into the stacks. My feet moved without asking me. The shelves grew tighter, leaning in. Some books had cracked open, their pages fluttering though there was no wind. The whispers rose. I dared to listen closer. A child's voice repeated a phrase again and again. "I never left." Another, older, murmured my own childhood fears, words I hadn't spoken in decades. My chest constricted as dozens of voices layered into a tapestry of memory and dread. The books weren't filled with stories. They were filled with people. At the end of the row stood a door, small and iron-bound. The librarian didn't follow. My hand shook as I pushed it open. Beyond was a room circular and vast, shelves spiraling upward into darkness. In the center stood a table with one chair. On the table, another book, already open. The pages turned on their own. Each revealed a different scene me, sitting in a motel room I once stayed in, muttering in my sleep. Me, driving roads I didn't remember. Me, standing exactly where I was now, eyes wide, breathing ragged. I reached out, but my reflection on the page looked up first. It smiled. The whispers converged, no longer separate. Now a single voice speaking inside my head. "Stay. You belong to the archive now. We keep what the world forgets." My pulse raced as the walls pulsed like lungs, shelves breathing in unison. The books trembled, their bindings straining, eager to open. I staggered back. The chair scraped across the stone floor without anyone touching it. The book on the table snapped shut with a deafening crack, and the lock sealed itself. Behind me, the door had vanished. Only shelves, endless shelves, Figures emerged from the stacks. Not quite human, bent and frail, their bodies stitched from paper and thread, words scrawled across their skin. Their mouths opened and loose pages fell out, fluttering to the floor, each with fragments of confessions, fears, screams. They gathered closer, reaching. My book grew hot in my hands. The librarian returned, her veil fluttering as if in an unseen breeze. She placed a hand on my shoulder cold, brittle, and leaned close. Her whisper was dry, papery, yet sharp enough to cut. Every voice has a home, if yours. I tried to scream, but no sound left my throat. Instead, words scrawled themselves across the blank pages of the book, glowing faintly before sinking into the paper. My breath hitched. My voice was being stolen, pulled out letter by letter, sentence by sentence. My knees buckled. The paper-skinned figures pressed closer, tilting their heads, listening as my voice was absorbed into the archive. My chest ached with silence. My lips moved, but nothing came. The book pulsed in my hands, alive now, warm and breathing. The librarian stepped back, satisfied. Her veil lifted slightly, revealing a face made entirely of text, no eyes, no mouth, only words crawling endlessly across parchment flesh. She turned, vanishing between the shelves. The figures followed, carrying my stolen sound in their paper-thin bodies. I collapsed at the table, gasping in silence. The book with my name throbbed faintly, whispering my stolen voice back at me in fragments, mocking. My laughter, my sobs, my pleas, all warped. The shelves loomed taller, endless. If you ever find the archive, don't open the book with your name. Don't listen to the whispers too closely. The voices aren't memories, they're prisons. Every forgotten word has to go somewhere, and they're waiting for more. And if tonight, while lying in bed, you hear a faint sound like pages turning in the dark, don't speak. Don't even breathe too loud, because once the archive knows your voice, it will never give it back. The corridor that shouldn't end. The train station was nearly empty, its tiled floors echoing with the sound of my boots. Midnight trains had always calmed me, but tonight the place felt staged. The announcements crackled overhead, looping the same phrase twice, as though time itself had stuttered. I pulled my coat tighter and followed the sign toward Platform 6. The corridor stretched longer than it should have. Each fluorescent light hummed in sequence, buzzing overhead as I walked. The posters on the walls repeated too, the same smiling family frozen mid-laughter, their eyes just slightly wrong. I glanced back only to find the entrance gone, replaced by more corridor. I told myself I was tired. The lights flickered. I checked my phone. 12:17 in the morning. I walked 5 minutes more. The clock still read 12:17. My chest tightened. The corridor didn't end. It folded forward, always forward, as if stretching itself while I moved. A shadow crossed behind me. I spun. The corridor stretched in both directions now, infinite. A figure stood in the distance, blurred, moving the way I moved, step for step. I lifted my hand slowly. The figure lifted theirs, but the timing was wrong half a second too late. My pulse spiked. I turned and ran. My footsteps echoed in triplicate, bouncing out of sync, overlapping. The walls began to ripple, tiles sliding like puzzle pieces, rearranging themselves. The posters changed. The family no longer smiled. Their mouths hung open in silent screams. The corridor forked. Both paths identical, humming with that same electric buzz. A phrase pulsed in my skull, not my thought but something implanted. Don't walk the same path twice. I hesitated, then chose the left. The figure followed, always distant, but never far enough. Its steps fell into place like a broken metronome. When I glanced back, the face blurred, but it was mine. My hair, my coat. Only the eyes were wrong black, too deep, absorbing light. The corridor opened into a waiting area. Empty rows of plastic chairs bolted to the floor. The clock above the door ticked backward. 12:16, 12:15. My phone vibrated. A message flashed across the screen. Don't trust the doors. I didn't recognize the number. My breath caught when I saw the sender's name. It was my own. The doors slid open anyway, inviting me to a platform shrouded in mist. A train waited, engines humming softly. No passengers. No conductor. The sign overhead read, "Next departure, 12:17. Still, always 12:17. I stepped inside. The seats were empty, the air stale. As the doors closed, I saw the figure step onto the platform my figure. It didn't board. It just watched, head tilted. The train lurched forward, carrying me into the dark. Windows blurred with motion. Shadows flickered outside, landscapes folding and unfolding too fast to comprehend. I glimpsed cities collapsing, forests burning, oceans boiling away. Each blink revealed a new world, but always empty, always abandoned. The intercom crackled. A voice identical to mine whispered, "Stay seated. Don't look out too long. Don't answer the knock." My throat dried. I wasn't alone after all. 3 knocks came from the seat behind me. Slow, patient. I froze, every instinct screaming. The knocks came again, harder this time. My phone buzzed once more. A message. Don't turn around. The train screeched. Lights flickered. When they came back, every seat was full figures slumped, their heads tilted, faces blurred. Each wore my coat, my shoes. My hands clenched the seat until my knuckles went white. None of them breathed. The train pulled into another station, identical to the one I'd left. Same clock, same posters, same endless corridor stretching beyond. The figures filed out silently, one by one, moving like broken marionettes. Only I remained. The intercom whispered again. My voice, strained, tired. "You've looped already. This is your 3rd time." My vision swam. Memories blurred. Had I walked this corridor before? Was I the figure following myself? I stumbled out of the train. The station air was thick, metallic. The corridor stretched before me, humming lights overhead. My phone buzzed. The screen lit with one final message from myself. If you hear this story, you've already walked the corridor. Don't listen again. The screen cracked on its own. The lights flickered. A shadow stepped out ahead my shape, waiting, smiling this time. And somewhere behind you, as you listen now, a corridor may already be forming. If you hear footsteps echo in perfect delay, don't turn around, because it won't be me following you. It will be you. The silence between stations. The first time I noticed something was wrong on the train, it wasn't the empty seats. It wasn't the flickering fluorescent lights. It wasn't even the way the windows showed nothing but static black, like the tunnel outside was swallowing every beam of light. No, it was the silence. A silence too perfect, too heavy. Even when the train rocked on the rails, no sound came. The wheels didn't squeal. The metal didn't groan. The air itself seemed muffled, like a dream where sound couldn't follow you. And then I realized I could hear my own breath, but not my heartbeat. I thought I'd fallen asleep. Maybe I'd boarded too late, and the train was half shut down for the night. But then a shape moved at the far end of the carriage. Just a silhouette, slouched, head tilted too far to the side. The moment I looked, it stilled. I blinked, and the seat was empty again. My throat went dry. There were no announcements, no stations sliding by. Just the endless tunnel and the dead quiet. The normal world was supposed to be safe. Commuter trains ran all night in this city. You sat down, scrolled your phone, got off where you needed. But when I glanced at my phone, the clock wouldn't move. 12:04 in the morning. No signal, no Wi-Fi. Just a single notification I couldn't swipe away. Stay seated. Don't make eye contact. The first disturbance came with the doors. They hissed open for no reason. The tunnel outside was still pure black, like stepping into a void. I didn't move. A gust of cold air slid inside, carrying the faintest smell of iron. When the doors closed again, something had changed. Across from me sat a woman, head bowed, hair hanging like wet ropes. She hadn't been there before. My breath fogged in the air, though the train should have been heated. It didn't feel like fear at first. It felt like pressure, like the air wanted to push me into my seat. When I looked up again, the woman's head was lifting, too slowly, as though her neck didn't work right. Her eyes caught the light. No whites. Just black glass reflecting back my own face. I shut my eyes. When I opened them, she was gone, but the seat was still damp with shadow. The pattern grew clear the longer I stayed. Every time the doors opened, something came in. A man with no shoes, his suit shredded, but his smile intact. A child dragging a stuffed bear, whose eyes blinked at me when the kid wasn't looking. A row of passengers with newspapers held high, though their hands shook like they weren't made of bone. None of them spoke. None of them blinked. They only turned toward me whenever I breathed too loud. I tried to move cars, but the hallway between doors stretched wrong. I walked 5 minutes 10, but the same poster kept appearing on the wall. A bright ad with peeling corners that read, "This is your stop." No matter how far I went, I ended up back where I started, breathless, as though the train itself had folded in on me. When the trap finally snapped, I understood too late. The announcement system crackled alive, a broken voice filtering through. Next station, never. The passengers all lifted their heads at once. Their mouths opened, but no sound came. And yet, I felt it a vibration deep in my skull, like they were speaking through me, not to me. My fingers twitched on their own. My lips whispered words I didn't choose. That's when I realized something worse than being trapped here. This place could use me. Already, my phone buzzed again, though I hadn't touched it. A draft message sat open, my own fingers moving across the glass without my will. On the train? Can't get off. Help. It wasn't my voice in those words. It was theirs, borrowing my body like another seat on the line. Tell me, what would you do if the train never stopped? If the faces across from you weren't faces at all, but reflections waiting for their turn? If I disappear after this upload, if this is my last signal, then remember this. Hit subscribe so you don't forget me. Memory doesn't last long in places like this. I thought escape would mean freedom, but when I forced myself through the next set of doors, into what should have been the tunnel, I only fell into another carriage. The same seats, the same passengers, the same wet shadow where the woman had sat. The only difference was the reflection in the window. It wasn't me anymore. It was one of them, staring out with a smile too wide. The climax came not with a scream, but with a knock, from the outside of the moving train. Impossible, but I heard it. Tap, 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 like someone dragging their fingers across the glass, keeping pace with the endless dark. I turned my head too slowly, already knowing what I'd see. My own face, knocking from the other side, mouthing words I couldn't hear. And now I think the bleed has already started. Because if you're listening to this, if you're hearing the silence between stations, then the next time you ride the night train, check the window carefully. Look past your own reflection. If you see me knocking, don't open the door. Don't let me in. I'm not trying to escape anymore. I'm trying to trade places.